At one point in time, instead of being read, history was being written. Join us as we chronicle one inventor after another who helped us grow from the burgeoning Iron Age to the Space Age in our ever-growing journey to explore the far reaches of our untamed galaxy. The year 1871 would drive an invention boom in America that would give us three major products, paving the way for modern-day laptops and the iPhone. In this edition, we submit to you three such inventions that would form lines around the block for the first iPhone 136 years later. But first, a little background of that year. 1871 would be the year of the Great Chicago Fire. This unstoppable blaze would leave nearly 100,000 people homeless, 300 people dead, and cost $200 billion in estimated damage. In Los Angeles, California, the Chinese massacre killed 30 Chinese. The Los Angeles, California Chinese Massacre of 1871 was a racial massacre targeting Chinese immigrants in Los Angeles, California, occurring on October 24, 1871. Approximately 500 white and Latino Americans attacked, harassed, robbed, and murdered the ethnic Chinese residents in what is today referred to as Chinatown neighborhood. In Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 will be ratified by Congress. The District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 is an act of Congress that repealed the individual charters of the cities of Washington and Georgetown and established a new territorial government for the whole District of Columbia. Down the street at the White House, President Ulysses S. Grant signed the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. Now, this act empowered President Grant to use the armed forces to combat those conspired to deny equal protection of the laws and, if necessary, to suspend habeas corpus to enforce the act. Shortly after Congress approved the law, 9 counties in South Carolina where KKK terrorism was rampant were placed under martial law, and thousands of persons were arrested. 12 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court would strike down this law as unconstitutional and a purview of states' rights only. But this year would also bring out positivity in humanity's great inventions. The first noteworthy invention of the year would be the Remington 2 typewriter. The Remington 2 was the Model T of typewriters, simple, reliable, practical, and was the first typewriter to be mass-produced in quantity. It introduced the world to typewriters and laid the path for explosive growth in typewriter design and manufacturing that was just around the corner. The Remington 2 was the first typewriter to have a shift key allowing for both upper and lowercase characters. The Remington 2's replacement, the Doherty of 1893, would show the first 4 striking keys which would change the industry forever. Typewriters in 1871, as well as your texting function on your iPhone, use what is known as the QWERTY design. If you look at the top row of letters on your laptop or iPhone, you will see the letters QWERTY spelled out from left to right. This design comes from an early inventor of the typewriter by the name of Christopher Sholes. Now, Sholes had a problem with adjacent keys sticking. For this reason, Sholes had the letters scrambled to prevent this from happening ever again. Although we have moved away from striking keys, we keep Sholes' design today. Yet another invention in that year would birth our modern-day music industry, as well as content creators on YouTube and the like. That invention would be the revolutionary phonograph. The phonograph was the first recording and playback device for speech and music of its kind. Invented by Thomas Edison, the phonograph name would morph with each successive generation that revamped its design to more familiar names, such as the record player, or more recently, turntable. Now, if you were a child growing up in the late 1970s and 80s, you would have recorded your own music on cassettes, which is a derivative of the same invention. Back then, everyone was recording pirated music off of the radio and either giving it away or selling what was referred to then as mixtapes. Now later, when an internet site known as YouTube was invented, they would go through a lawsuit for users mixing copyrighted music into their own works. Now speaking of sites like YouTube and TikTok, you would not be able to record shorts for your friends on your iPhone if it were not for this next invention. In 1871, we see the first recording of stop-motion film, chiefly due to a man by the name of Edward Muybridge. Muybridge's experiments in photographing motion began when the railroad magnate Leland Stanford hired him to prove that during a particular moment in trotting, or horse's gait, all four legs were off the ground simultaneously. Now his first efforts were unsuccessful because his camera lacked a fast shutter. The project was then interrupted while Muybridge was being tried for murder of his wife's lover. Although he was acquitted, he found it expedient to travel for a number of years in Mexico and Central America, making publicity photographs for the Union Pacific Railroad, owned by Stanford. Although Muybridge did not invent film, he is credited with slowing it down enough to enjoy shows like The $6 Million Man or speed up film like the modern-day Flash movie. While today, even the novice can put together a film on a laptop computer using either of these features. We'll leave you now with the images of film slowed down and sped up.